Get it live.
All right. Good afternoon, all. Welcome. I would like to say thank you to the public that may be watching us online, and for the rest of my colleague trustees and senior administration. Good afternoon. Once again, welcome. We will begin our meeting for October 19th. You all may join me in prayer. Okay, we will begin the name of our Son of our faith, Father, Son, and Heavenly Father, as we begin this meeting today, we begin your presence. We begin your peace, your grace, your mercy, and your perfect glory. We acknowledge the power, all the grace.
Families and friends.
For the Son, for the Spirit, with the acknowledgement, we are a party to 56, and as such, we wish to acknowledge that the land on which we gather here is 26 territory and a traditional meeting ground for many indigenous peoples. We recognize the diversity of the First Nations who have at one time lived across the territory as the presence of Native nations. Thank you. Mr. Bishad, do you have any public forum request?
No, no requests for me.
You go to the approval of the agenda, or we do that, and ask for any additions. Come on, addition.
Father, the instructional things adjustment.
Father, the code. The letter can be is on the confident. Okay, thank you. We will, I recognize you.
I'd like to add grant allocations to the agenda, please.
And yeah,
I'd like to add ad hoc committee on advocacy 6.4.
wonderful. Thank you. We have one more.
I'd like to add an in-camera as the policy 7 member.
Thank you. Since we have one more. That is the letters to government. Go ahead.
I'd like to add letters to government.
Thank you. All of these addition, I will now call for that. Do you have any deletions? I don't see any. Call for the approval of the agenda, please. Yes, let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the board approve the agenda as amended.
Any discussions? There's no hands. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Good. Item number 2. Previous minutes from last month. Go ahead.
I move that the board approve the minutes of the regular meeting held September 21st, 2022 as circulated.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. Any discussions? No. Now call the question. All in favor? This is carried. So what priorities? That's under transformation. Go to number 4, executive and administrative reports. You're on the board chair's reports. Any question or comments? Okay. See no comments. We'll go to the superintendent's report. Any question or comments? Okay. Mr. Bouchard, just have a quick question. Can you please elaborate a bit on the innovations in First Nations program?
Where are you, Mr. Chair? Sorry.
I believe that will be 1 second. 1 second. Number 8. Before number 8, the last bullet before 20. Yeah.
Sure. So the division has been receiving a grant for numerous years. And Assistant Superintendent Cardinal oversees that program. So I'll have her expand on that, please.
Sure, so, did you want to know more about the grant? So,
Yeah, and how effective are we using that grant? Just a little bit.
so the way that we had originally planned to utilize the grant was to partner with MESC and to have classes work collaboratively with teachers and students there. However, due to COVID, we weren't able to do that. So that part of the program was paused. And what we did instead to continue the connections and innovative approaches to supporting First Nation students was that we ran a bit of a pilot project out at Sacred Heart and at St. Augustine. And we had hired a Indigenous success coach, which is Ramona Washburn, and she was there to help them in basically supportive practices for working with these students, our Indigenous students. So that's the latter part of the grant. The other things that we did with the grant were providing teepees, flags for every school, supporting elders and knowledge keepers to come into the schools, providing resources, like for example, Under the One Sun, that came from that grant. So those were, it was supposed to be a 3-year grant. I think it extended to 5, simply because of COVID and the disruption.
Wonderful.
But I'll just add to those comments is that what you see here in this bullet is Assistant Superintendent Cardinal submitting the final report. So that project's now complete.
Go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. Also under number 7, just above the grant we just discussed, is the Learning Loss Grant, Mental Health Grant, and Local Citizens Grant. They say completed the grant application. Do we have an expected timeline of when we would hear back from those?
Go ahead. We were told the end of November for some of them, but
Yeah, I think the mental health grant said they would let us know by October 15th. We've heard nothing. The other 2, they said November sometime. That's so we completed all the grants, inputted them, and we did the best.
So again, just my comments and observation. We have new governments, and a little of shake and bake around it. So definitely once it's all, the dust is all settled. But I would just advise or encourage the board if, November is a busy month, but in December, if we had nothing, then we should be formulating that advocacy plan. Because if government makes such announcements and the money is not flowing, our public think we have the money for, especially these are key issues coming out of the pandemic, right? Learning loss, mental health, those are key big things that, yeah, so.
I think when you're speaking about advocacy, I think part of the issue is simply that the timing of the grants are not ideal. It would be better for them to be issued in May, June, so that we can at least implement them for September. So when we'll get this, and hopefully get the money, you know, November, December, well, we're not, by the time we figure out what we're doing, hiring, whatever, it's going to be December, January. So half a year has gone by to support these students that really do need, I mean, these grants all support students who need extra help, extra everything. So, you know, it's the timing that is really critical here.
And there we go. I really appreciate that that observation and comment, but it's what happens on the ground and we don't always have those answers.
No.
Thank you for that, yeah. So we have a role here to advocate that the children in our care get supported accordingly. Thank you. Any further comments? You have one? Okay, go ahead.
This actually isn't a question, it's a comment, and it's number 8 about served as facilitator to board retreat. I just wanted to say I felt like it was an excellent day, and I thank you very much for all the hard work you did. It was just, I thought it was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very nice.
Go ahead.
Under number 2, the second last bullet, in regards to information section on Alberta Health Services pediatric rehabilitation services. Is there a Coles notes, I guess, for some of those changes, and how might that affect our schools in supporting students?
So I'm assuming that would have been Chris Piro that would have attended that. Have you spoken with Chris? Do you have any feedback on that?
Well, part of what she has told me is that there's been a bit of an issue with providing supports for students before they come to school. So the speech pathologists, for example, are saying, oh, we're going to provide these supports, but yet parents are turning to AHS and not getting that support. So this is what these are the kinds of issues that we're talking about, working out all of those things that are, you know, it's supposed to be happening, but yet it's not.
Okay.
Any further comments? So again, to your last one, there are things that get promised or looked at and then all follow through will be good when those comes to our attention. Because of how do we move forward and advocate. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Bouchard, for as you've been acknowledged by my colleagues here. All right, we will then move to Mr. Lacta, Secretary of Press reports. Any comments or questions? So, Mr. Lacta, I have one for you. Can you please elaborate about out of province programming? You have that knowledge for us, you know, what happens and what are the causes?
I can defer first to superintendent.
Oh, okay.
So we now have 2 students who are accessing a seminary in British Columbia. So this was another recent approval of a student to attend. Alberta Education does allow for that provision. So in essence, the student is a registrant at Christ the King, that to be registered with us, but then we do a tuition transfer to the institution in BC. So that's what that's regarding.
Wonderful. And we have 2 students, you said, correct? All right, any other comments or questions? Okay. Yeah, it's still yours. So like, go ahead.
Couple of things, last board meeting, the board requested funding manual all updates. So I provided you with a summary of the changes to the manual, both in spring and fall. And in general summary, so I don't know if there's any specific questions on anything that I provided some background with regard to if there's an impact to the division. And what that means.
I know we requested this last month just to see where the changes. Any comments or questions? Nice, no hands, we'll move forward. Okay, go ahead, proceed.
Sorry. Section C52 startup grants. I think I just need some help understanding what the first part of that means. To support new school jurisdictions. That's one, because my understanding is that's not happening in the province. That we're not actually creating new divisions within the province. But does that include for new school sites and for existing school jurisdictions, administration costs? Is that actual admin costs or is that staff? Like, is that to do the paperwork and to do things like that in administration, or is that for staffing costs for?
I don't believe it is for staffing in the school.
Okay.
It's for setting up, and then basically in a couple of instances here, we've had our school operating before we actually had a physical building. And in terms of the board is always recognized, even with construction and top of the code, we had done an additional allocation to support their administration costs. So my understanding is the province is recognizing that you will have administration in place before the school actually starts up. So if you have a brand new school coming in, let's say a new high school at Beaumont, we will start having an administration in place so that we can start staffing that school. There will be costs associated with even just, if it's part of new construction, there's ordering of furniture and equipment, attending site meetings, and all that things. There will be costs prior to that school opening its doors. My understanding is that is the intention, is to pay for all of those up costs until the time that you open up your doors and you have staff on site. Or that school operates. It may operate at another site, at least there's recognition that before it starts operating, there's a lot of work that will be done in advance.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And therefore, I have comments to you as one of the longest serving trustee. Both of our new schools, the principals announced and ready to go because there's a lot of preparation that comes with it, and you need somebody moving all of those pieces and parts along as the build or show comes in. Thank you. Okay. Still yours. Continue.
I see some of it didn't translate from the original document. It was a graphic that was inserted on the document. That was the section of the fees and sales from the fourth quarter financial report. I apologize that I didn't check to make sure it displayed properly. I had financial services look at that variance because it was a variance of about 69% from budget for school fees. Board asked me to look into further to ensure that it wasn't a problem with collections or anything along those lines. Financial services did look into it. What they identified was that some of the revenues for fees have been misidentified in the financial report as a sales item. When they redistributed them, the actual fees revenue for the fourth quarter of that report should have been stated at $720,000, or about 102% of the budgeted amount. Sales would be at $884,000, which is still over what we had budgeted for. Again, sales revenues are typically at the school based. And we're fairly conservative when we do spring budget analysis and requests for budget amount for sales. One of the things I asked them also to look into was whether there was any unusual rates of loan collection with regards to fees, and there was nothing that indicated there was a low collection rate for fees. So I just wanted to assure trustees of that matter as well.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Senator? See none. Okay. Then move forward. All right. Have an income item. Oh, sorry. Yeah, right. All right. So let's move forward. My order. Okay, we did request for some questions. Yeah, I'll have you go forward with that as well. So,
The audit committee has met with the auditors, but one of the things the audit committee does review and it's at request, past requests of previous boards, was that trustees have the ability to think about and contemplate some questions for the auditors. But what we'd like to see is that those questions are sent to the audit committee for review. Sometimes those questions are answered in the course of the audit and would be responded to. Sometimes they require some preparation on behalf of the auditors. So the audit committee at this point, if trustees have questions that they want to pose to the auditors, if they could submit them to myself, then we will collect them and they will review them and pass them on to the auditors as appropriate. If you could submit those to myself by October 31st.
we'll at that by October 31st in anticipation of the preparation for our audit. October 31st, Halloween. All right, any comments or questions? No. All right. Thank you. So trustees, I encourage you, if you have questions, please submit them. We'll go to 5.2. Yeah, I got a bit Sunday and I will refer that back to Mr. Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the background, you'll see that November is Catholic Education Month, so to speak. November 6th is the designated date for Catholic Education Sunday. There are 3 communities that have communicated alternate dates and that they've made arrangements with their local parishes, that being Macomb, Beaumont, and Leduc. So I'll remind trustees that you have a budget of up to $400 for the celebration of Catholic Education Sunday in your parish. Also distributed to parishes, we asked if they wanted a hard copy of the insert from the Division for Catholic Education Sunday. And I believe all parishes except Leduc wanted to have some hard copies. So Caitlin has had them professionally printed. They're here, we'll send those home with you. We'll also send an electronic copy because we know that some parishes send electronic bulletins. Also included in that email will be the bishop's letter, both in English and in French. So that is a little bit of a synopsis of the happenings with Catholic Education Sunday.
All right. So again, the weekend, it doesn't have to be like I've seen those alternate days, and we definitely having an alternate day as well. So and trustees need to do all of these in conjunction with the parish priest. Give the message out to be visible on that day. Okay, thank you. There are no further comments. We'll keep moving. Okay. Please stay with you again, Mr. Judge.
All right, so there has been a past practice of some trustees wishing to lay a wreath at the Remembrance Day ceremony in their community. So I remind trustees that there is a $65 allocation should you wish to do that. You'll just need to make that payment on your own and then submit it for reimbursement. But please speak with our executive, or my executive assistant, Kim, should you wish to move forward with that. But that is available to trustees, and since our meeting in November is after Remembrance Day, it's timely that we think about it now.
Did you say $65?
Correct.
And I do know some communities it's more, so you are the trustee. If you are here to it, because the legions are other streets, we all know. So, yeah. All right. Thank you. There are no further comments. Division Learning Day.
So we extend an invitation typically to trustees that may want to attend Learning Day. Some have in the past and found it to be insightful and informing on division practice. So our Learning Day is November 1st this year, and I'll have Assistant Superintendent Cardinal maybe just give you a little bit of a rundown of the day and what you might expect should you choose to attend.
Sure. So the title of Learning Day is Innovate, Engage, Inspire. And I'm taking care of all of the professional development for the teachers, and Christy Smith, our Director of Curriculum and Staff Development, is taking care of all of the PD for librarians and educational assistants. Everything will happen at Father Leduc, and the day begins at 8:45 in the gym. And we do have a keynote speaker. Her name is Lainey Rowell, and she is from Los Angeles. She's Catholic, but her area of expertise is engaging learning communities. So her keynote is evolving with learning communities that are grateful, engaged, and empowered. So that's from around 9 to 10:15. Then we have a break and transition into sessions. And so professional development is PD for teachers by teachers. And so we've had quite a number of sessions volunteered by our own staff to present to our own teachers. So we have 33 sessions throughout the day just for teachers, ranging across the board from technology, health and wellness, CTF, Career Technology Foundations, or CTS, which is Career Technology Studies, creative programming, literacy, numeracy, arts, phys ed, health and wellness, quality learning, Indigenous education, and Catholic social justice. So there's a session from 10:30 to 11:30. There's a lunch break from 11:30 to 12:45, and Lucy is helping arrange food trucks. So that's going to be interesting. We'll see how that works out. And then gets teacher or staff pay for their own lunch for the day. And then we have another session from 12:45 to 1:45, and another from 2 to 3, and then a final wrap up. So that's kind of how the day goes. And there's a whole grid here on my screen of different sessions.
I would ask trustees, if you do plan to come, if you could let me know so that we could properly acknowledge you in the opening comments. And we'll also share with you the program at that time.
And there are no signups.
It's coming.
There will be signups.
Because right now, all of the teachers are just confirming their information, their description of their sessions, etc. So once that's done, then I will put it into the sign up program, and then we will be signing up next week.
Thank you so much. All right, so we got all the information. Think about it, November 1. Okay. Go to an income item. This was this, and then all administration and stuff here, please. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, please. Yes, yeah. Thank you.